Hello.
Okay, so class, this is the second lesson. Remember in the first lesson, we go through all the introduction, we got all the condensed. So today we go to the whole introductions. Then after that, I think I prefer go to the history in the first place. It doesn't matter whether we start with the theory or the history. They will be fine for Joanna. Okay, so off your mic. Okay. Yes. Okay, so now let's try to continue, see in our previous lesson. Okay, class, in the previous lesson, just remind you a little bit in the introduction. So in introduction, we begin to talk about history of Buddhism spanned almost 2,500 years ago from its origin in India with the Siddhartha Gautama. And then we talk about there will be three basket of the collection of the Tripitaka, which is Sila Samadhi, which is categorized as Abhidhamma, Vinaya, and also the Nikaya. So this is the three category, and we talk about that there will be the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. Sangha played roles to make the Dharma sustainable. Dharma itself is the teaching from the Shakyamuni, and Shakyamuni is the one who enlightened the Dharma. So this is three of their relationship. Okay, then come back again. Yeah, this is what we talk about in the previous chapter. Okay, another thing is we mentioned that there will be three traditions. Okay, one is in the Theravada. Theravada actually we translate as the older saying. Then a second group is the Mahayana. Mahayana basically Buddhism spread, and we categorize it through the region. Once we talk about the Theravada, basically the region as means is in the Sri Lanka, Thailand, Myanmar, Laos. Okay, but the Theravada meaning is an older saying. When we talk about the Mahayana literally is translate as a great vehicle or great vehicle. Then the Mahayana basically the area is pinpoint to the China. Then Japan, Korean, they're all considered Mahayana. Taiwan. So lastly, is the Tibetan Buddhism. So we call it as Vajrayana. So Vajrayana basically that's a thunderbolt. Remember the shape of the thunderbolt. This is one of the Dharma instrument for the Tibetan monk to conquer all the demon or whatever. So we call it as a Vajrayana. Basically, the place Tibet is the place which is popular with the what are we call it as a Tibetan Buddhism. So now we go to the new paragraph. Okay, yes, Sally, your turn to read our knowledge, please.
Our knowledge of the teachings of Buddha is based on several canons of scripture, which derive from the early Sangha oral transmission of bodies of teaching agreed on at several councils. The Theravada Pali canon is preserved in the Pali language, which is based on a dialect close to that spoken by the Buddha. O Magadhi, it is the most complex extant early canon and contains some of the earliest material. Most of its teachings are in fact the common property of all Buddhist schools, being simply the teachings which Theravadins preserve from the early common stock, while parts of the Pali canon clearly originated after the time of Buddha. Much must derive from his teachings. There is an overall harmony to the canon, suggesting authorship of its system of thought by one mind. Given that the Buddha taught for 45 years, some signs of development in teachings may simply reflect changes during this period. Some promising attempts to relative dating rely on criteria of style and comparisons of related texts in different canons. are now producing good results. These canons gradually diverge as several floating oral traditions were drawn on, and systematizing texts particular to each school were added. Many of the minor differences within and between canons, however, can be seen to be due to the way in which oral traditions always produce several different permutations of essentially the same story or teaching.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Atama, please, once you finish highlight. Okay, class, regards this paragraph. Let's take a look. Um, okay, we don't talk about the politics. We are not talking about the politics. Okay, this is the Myanmar tradition. Basically, in Myanmar, actually not only the Myanmar, in Sri Lanka, Myanmar, and Thailand. I think not Thailand. Basically, they still have. I mean, if you try to undergo the Dhamacharya examination, you still have to memorize the text, the original text. Well, maybe you will ask, how come they have the habits for memorizing it? Besides the Theravada, actually Tibetan Buddhism also do the same thing. They will do some memorization, there's somehow they will memorize to each other. The reason is because at the Buddha time, I mean before any text has been introduced, basically can memorize and pass from one generation to another generation. If you understand the Indian culture, you notice that it's very common for Indian. So they just memorize the whole thing, you see. But anyway, since you try to memorize the thing, for example, you see, let's say I'm the teacher, okay? So Joanne, Sally, and David, okay, three of you are my teacher, okay? So today I tell you many things, right? So what you learned today, and then later on I give you an assignment, so you just do recapitulations, maybe to your couple, okay? So do you think three of you will can recapitulate what exactly I said? Mr. Leung, do you think it's possible?
Not possible, but then the basic things will be included.
Okay, well, anyway, so what makes the difference? If you try to compare, if you, Mr. Leong, if you try to record down three of their recapitulations to the couple or somebody, if you try to compare, you will see the difference. So, what is the significance behind the difference, Mr. Leong?
Different perceptions.
Yeah, and also education background, right? Okay. Am I right? So three of them are with a different background. So they will insert yes, some background knowledge and prior experience inside the recapitulation. So it's the same only. So nowadays, if let's say we go to find we call it original text in Theravada we call it as a Nikaya. In the Mahayana, we call it as agama. Okay, basically, we can discover both of them. If you try to compare, you will find some similarity and the differences. Okay, so the similarity is because they memorize the same thing, like three of you. Of course, whatever you recapitulate, but you remember the core teaching might be should be the same, but maybe the detail will be the difference. Okay, so that's the meaning here, and basically, the way we see it, the most, the earliest time of the teaching, we call it as Nikaya or Agama. They are the core teaching, and from here, they start to expanding to Mahayana and Vajrayana. So this is something we notice. Okay. Yeah. Let's take a look. Okay, yes, basically you see, I highlight a few words. Number one is talk about the Pali canon is in the Pali language. Let's take a look. This is the Pali language. Basically, we don't see any, we don't see any, how should I put it, language. Actually, the Pali itself doesn't exist. Pali is just a way to pronounce for the pronunciation. But different country, but Pali could be appeared in a different country. For example, in Myanmar, Myanmar also speak Pali. You see, Myanmar, Myanmar they speak Pali. Okay, but you see, it appears in the Myanmar, capital with the Myanmar text, Myanmar capital letter. You see, the Pali has been written in Myanmar language. Okay, and then you also can see there will be some type Pali. So this is the type Pali. You see, allows for the Pali. So meaning to say that Pali itself, it doesn't have a fixed shape, fixed form. So whatever country, they will use their own ways. How to say, own language, to present it. And of course, the easiest way for us is the Romanized Pali. Will be ABC. You see, this is a Romanized Pali. We all can read it very well. Let's see. Romanized Pali. Romanized. Okay, that is, let's see. Pali in the okay, Pali can be appeared in the ABC also. Then we will call it what, Mr. Leong? Mr. Leong, we call it what? Romanized Pali.
I think Romanized Pali.
Romanized Pali is supposed to be Romanized Pali. It doesn't appear. It should be appear with the ABC but it doesn't show. This one you see. This is a Romanized Pali. KCT TP. So I think if you try to trace back, maybe the Bahasa Malaysia and Bahasa Indonesia, they have a strong relationship with the Pali. Nowadays, we still can put some similarity between both the language. For example, bumi, in Bahasa Malaysia, bumi adalah tanah, but in Pali, bumi also means a tanah. So same thing, quite a lot of similarity. So this we call as a Pali. And for most of the Theravada Buddhists, they believe that the Pali is the Buddha language, very close to Om Magadhi. So, from here, they develop a sense of obligations that they have a responsibility to learn the Pali, because this is a Buddha language. If you stay in Myanmar, Thailand, but of course it is a little bit controversy in academic study Academics say, oh, it's a Gandhari but I think it doesn't matter. Sometimes I think maybe for the Orthodox Theravada devotee since Pali language can provide them a sense of belonging and have a very high spiritual, so it doesn't matter. We don't need to bother what Kandari or not, because when they believe that they will have a sense of how to say, they have an obligation to learn, you see. Like the Chinese, as a Chinese, do you have a obligation to know Chinese actually? Do you have or not? Sally, do you have? Is it strong for you? Obligation to learn the Chinese or Mandarin?
Yeah.
Yeah, but now hard a little bit lah.
You see, when I was young, the time was lazy to learn.
How about now?
That's why. now you want to learn also very difficult already.
Oh, I see. How about you? Do you have a sense of the obligations to learn Mandarin actually?
Hi, Sipo. Yes, I really got a chance. I wanted to learn Chinese. Yeah.
Oh,
I do have the obligation. Yes.
Now you see or not? Okay, Mr. Long, you see, this is the sense which is so powerful to make most of the Theravadan devotee to learn the Pali. You see, you found that it's my obligation. You see, it's very good. Okay,
It's not more to obligation, it's more to the full understanding of the meaning of the single word. For example, typical classical Chinese, one word can mean a lot. Likewise, Pali, yes. Because Pali needs a lot of translation or what you call navigation of how to describe one single word. Pali.
No, Mr. Leong, what I mentioned not because of the function of the language, is the sense of the enthusiasm or obligation, because you thought that we are the Chinese, we should know Chinese. This is what I mentioned. Pali is the Buddha language. So as a Buddhist, we should learn it. I think it's Mr. Leong, this happened only in Theravada devotee. It doesn't happen in Mahayana and Tibetan. We don't feel the obligation, because our position is quite different already. So we accept Chinese Buddhism already. So we don't really dream for learning the Pali language. So you see, for you, you can feel already, because you all found, I'm Chinese, I should know Chinese. Okay, anyway, no worry. I will start teaching you Chinese a bit by a bit. To fulfill your obligation. Okay, it happened in the way the Buddha maybe a few words you will just appreciate very much. Okay, so we understand once we always talk about this, the language, you have the obligation, you see. So you say anyway, most of the teaching as the common property of the Buddhist school, we share the common basically, especially this part class, let's take a look. Now let me show you. So this is the condensed, especially in this part. See, in chapter 1, let's take a look. Class, basically the chapter 1 in chapter 2, you can say they are what? They are the common properties of all Buddhist school. Chapter 1, chapter 2 actually. So this is a very important fundamental, because if you don't learn this in the very beginning, then maybe if you just approach maybe Tibetan Buddhism, sometimes you get confused. The reason is Tibetan Buddhism, meaning to say, have been Tibetanized already. Chinese Buddhism also have been Chinalized already, you see, meaning to say there will be some the respective culture have been integrated. For the beginner, they were just confused. They don't know actually which part is the culture, which part is the expedient, which part is the ultimate. So I think sometimes it is good you begin learning in the classroom. Chapter 1, the origin Buddhism. This one is better, you're not confusing, but a little bit boring, because if you go maybe to the ceremony, you see, this is more. This will be more interesting. For example, if you go to the Tibet, for example, okay, you see, for example, you go to join the ceremony in Tibetan, okay, join the ceremony in Tibetan Buddhism, So you will see many things, colorful things appear, you know. Now you see, wow, you see, very colorful, you see or not? The tanga, this one, this will be more interesting. More interesting, it's very good for a beginner. You feel, wow, you see, wow, how come they wear this stuff? Something like the horn or what? Okay, so you see, very colorful, you see. But anyway, it's sometimes we're confusing also because a lot of culture inside. Okay, anyway, you are in the class now already. Then next, let's take a look. Here, we mentioned that nowadays, most of the texts, some is originated, some is derived from the teaching, especially Mahayana and Tibetan Buddhism. We got a lot of teaching. Sometimes you couldn't find, if you try to, verify it, it's not exactly the same, but there is a derivative actually. You have to understand that. Okay. And next, let's see. This canon gradually diverges as a different floating oral tradition will draw on. Yes, I think anybody can remember when is the language is firstly introduced? The writing is firstly introduced in what century? No people know. No archaeological. We don't have archaeological here. No people can answer me. Okay. So once the writings first introduced, especially in Sri Lanka, they use it to write down the text because this is more reliable. If you compare just oral tradition, that one's terrible. Not terrible. I mean it's very difficult Okay. Okay, so now we go to the next paragraph. Yes, David, your turn to read, please. Okay, the early canons, please.
The early canon contained a section on Vinaya, or monastic discipline, one on suttas, or discourses of the Buddha, and some contain one on Abhidhamma, or further teaching, which systematize the sutta teaching in the form of detailed analysis of human experience. The main teaching of the Buddhism are contained in the suttas, which in the Pali canon are divided into 5 Nikayas or collection. The first 4, 16 volumes, generally being the older. In other early canon, the 5 divisions paralleling the Nikaya are called Agamas. The Pali canon was one division. The Pali canon was one of the...
Yes, David, are you here?
Yeah, my screen is...
Yeah, you are frozen, yes. How can I unfreeze you, David? What can I do to unfreeze you,
I do not know why the screen is doesn't open.
Okay, never mind. Mr. Leong, you are
Okay.
you're unfrozen already. Yeah, please read.
The Pali canon was one of the earliest to be written down, this being in Sri Lanka in around 20 BC, after which little, if any, new material was added to it. There are also sections of 6 non-Theravadian early canon preserved in Chinese and Tibetan translation, fragments of a Sanskrit canon still existing in Nepal, and old texts in various languages of India and Central Asia, found in Tibet, Central Asia, and Japan. The extensive non-canonical Pali literature include additional Abhidhamma work, historical chronicle, and many volumes of commentaries. An extremely clear introduction to many points of Buddhist doctrine is the Milinda question, which purports to record conversation between a Buddhist monk and Milinda, a king of Greek ancestry. Another is the Visuddhimagga, a very influential Theravada compendium of meditation practices and doctrine written by Buddha Gosa.
Okay, thank you so much. Off the mic, please.
Okay.
Yeah. Thumb up, please, Mr. Leung, if you finish. I can see your hand. Okay. Okay, class, basically now the author tried to introduce you, okay, try to introduce us regards what is the original text is available nowadays. So let's take a look. In the very beginning, he said that we got a Vinaya, Sutta, and Abhidhamma. Okay, class, you can get it easily nowadays. Let me see first. Okay, if you want to get, especially the Pali Canon, the Pali Canon, the very famous one is suppose you can go through is the access to insight lah. So we see the Tripitaka, but this is more in the Pali, but have been Romanized already. So this is, I think, easier for you all to go through all this. So you see the Nikaya here appeared already. Nikaya mentioned that it is from a collection. It's very old teaching. So this is the Abhidhamma class. Let's take a look. You see, let me see first. Dhammapada. No. This is not Abhidhamma. This is in the miscellaneous. It is the Kutaka Nikaya. This one. Then this is the Abhidhamma Pitaka. You see. So Abhidhamma is in the other section. You see. So we click here Abhidhamma Pitaka. So we see here 7 books. So this is the Abhidhamma here. This is all from Pali Canon. Then one more will be the Vinaya. Let's see how is the Vinaya. Okay. Basically, you are, the Vinaya, you are discouraged to read too detailed. The reason is the Vinaya is more is the monastic code for all the monk. It is not necessary. I mean, if you don't have any other reason, so it's not necessary go to read because we worry. The more you know, the more you use it to measure. The other monk not that good. Okay. Except except you are the panel. How to say especially if somebody have any accusation or allegations to the monk, so we will have a panel to judge and sentence the monks for any penalty. So you have to for them, that is the major purpose to fully understand the teaching which is available in the Vinaya. So this is we can see from the Pali. Okay, so please you can write it down. The Tipitaka, the Pali canon. If you want to find the Chinese, they will be in C beta. Let's take a look. C beta. C beta is the Chinese. You see, okay, it's the Chinese. 汉文大藏经. So you can write down here. Okay, class nowadays. This is okay. Pali just now we mentioned already. Here is the preserved in the Chinese. Okay, so preserved in Chinese. Please you can just write down here. C beta. Okay, so everything has been digitalized already. Nowadays, it's so convenient. If let's say we don't do any digitalizations for this Chinese Tripitaka, I think if let's say everything is in the book form, I think maybe there will be total 100 volume. I think maybe Popo, insert 100 volume in your car also not enough space for the 100 volume of the Tripitaka. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, you see, this is the volume. If let's say it is in the paper form, let me show you. So this is the one. The volume is even bigger than the Pali canon. Let me check for you. 大正藏100册 100 volume totally lah. Now see, so this is the one. But here just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 only. Totally we got 100 volume. You see, so you see, so the volume is so big. Then one more is a Tibetan Tripitaka. That's what we call it as a Tanjuga and okay, I don't know exactly the name. Let me see. Tibetan Tripitaka. Tripitaka. We can check online also. They put it online. Peking Tripitaka online search the Tibetan Tripitaka. Okay, University Calgary. I think I don't want this. We come here. This one look like a Tibetan monk. Taiset Susugi. I think should be the Japanese. So this is the Tibetan Buddhism. I'm not very familiar also in the Tibetan text. Okay, but anyway, in Tibetan text, there will be some very important just category. We call it as let me show you. Yeah. This is two part. Tanjur, Ganjur, Tanjur. Okay. Let me get the text. Yeah, Ganjur. You can please write down here the Ganjur. Okay. So this is here Tibetan translation. Okay. Part number 1 we call it as the Ganjur. Ganjur. Ganjur means what? It means it's the Buddha teaching. Here the meaning to say Ganjur. This is we call it as a sutta teaching, as a Ganjur. Then there's one more is a Tanjur. the pronounce is the Tanjua. So Tanjua is more on what? Let me see, it's the commentary. Tanjua is a commentary in Tibetan translations. So this, please write down the commentary. Okay, next let's take a look here. Okay, regarding this, you mentioned that the Pali Canon is the earliest, is about around 20 BC before Christ. Pali Canon, this is a little bit controversy also. Okay, basically, this is why it become a controversy because all the canon claim that they are the earliest. Because the earliest they are, the more valuable they are, especially in academic study. The more early you are, maybe the more authentic you are. Something like that. But anyway, the way we see the content is more important. The content is more important. Even though nowadays I write some Buddhist script, even though it's 2022, it's very late, right? But if let's say the content is very good, it's really a Buddhist, it's a Buddhism. I mean the text, it's no harm. It's even 2000 after write it down after Buddha Parinibbana after 2000 years. You see, yeah, Mr. Leong, yes.
Sifu, regarding this Pali Canon written in a recorded form, what about those during the first council meeting when they have the 500 arahants when they meet? Then how are they recorded in?
No, everything is memorized by Ananda. Ananda, who is the one who...
Ananda, but then they must be recorded.
No, it's not recorded. Not yet. The language haven't have the writing had not been introduced yet. So all the sutta, remember, you see, for example, this is the first council, right? So Joanne, you say, oh, I remember Buddha said this thing. Then all of us are unanimous agree. As Ananda, I will just record, remember it in my mind. And then we come to the Vinaya. All right, everybody say yes. The Buddha said no killing. Okay, everybody agree unanimously. And then Upali, we remember this. Abhidhamma also same. So in the early first council, everything is remembered by heart. Yeah, Mr. Leong is like that. I can check for you, Mr. Leong, more convincing. We try to find when is the language firstly introduced in India and Sri Lanka. When is the writing? Am I right? Writing? When is writing firstly?
Yes, written record. Yes.
Written record written record. Firstly introduced in Indian and Sri Lanka India. Let me know already. All right. Firstly, history. Okay. Yes. Okay. 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 Come first. National song. Oh my God. How come it's a national song? I think Google doesn't understand me. Maybe let me just put is the in Indian first. Firstly, in written record, right? Written record. Firstly introduced in India. Okay, yeah, you see yeah, the first undisputed evidence of writing in the Indian subcontinent are the Edict of Asoka from 250 before Christ. Yeah, Buddha Parinibbana is a 545, Mr. Leong. So at that time, no written record. Just the written record we can find is 250 before Christ. Okay, convincing, Mr. Leong? So this
but then again, Sifu, during Asoka's time, they got the Asoka Erics written on the pillars.
No. Meaning to say that the written record is beginning at that time, meaning to say the thing put down in the language, put down in the words. It doesn't matter because we want to find out. So Buddha time is everything is memorizing, is in the heart. Quite clear we know already. Okay. The person don't have the habit. Then we try to check the Sri Lanka also. See when do they start It's interesting to know lah. Okay, Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka. Okay, Sri Lanka. Sinhalese history tradition started in 5343. When is the first film? Okay, page from book. A brief history. Okay, Google doesn't understand me lah. Never mind. So just okay, no, just ignore it lah. Later on, Mr. Leong can check it for us in the Sri Lanka one. Okay, let me try to go further. So here mentioned here, we know all this already. Five Nikaya and Agama basically both are equal standard for four Nikaya and Agama. How come we call it as a four Nikaya and Agama? The reason is in this way. So class, let's take a look. Let me show you first. This is so let's take a look. You see, once Buddha after Parinibbana, so we have a one Sangha, then we split to the Mahasamgika and the Stiwara. Here you see different school already. Okay, different school. So basically, once they start splitting, they all memorize. I mean, they got somebody who memorize. We call it as a Nikaya is in Theravada. In Sarvastivada, they memorize, they call it as Agama. So it's different school, they use the different words. Agama and Nikaya actually both are same actually. Okay, then let's see. Besides Chinese and Tibet, we will see some Sanskrit canon in Central Asia. Class, have you ever heard about the Dharma Flower Sutra? Can you please raise your hand? Dharma Flower Sutra. Oh, you heard about that? Okay. We get the Sanskrit text, you know. Maybe I think it's a Gandhari. So let me show you. It is available, you know. We call it as a Dharma Flower Sutra. Okay. Okay. We take a look to the Wikipedia. So it's going to show you the Sanskrit text. Partial is discovered in Nepal, and also partial discovered in the Kashmir also. Let's see. So this one, they discovered this is in the Xinjiang. Okay. Yeah, this is the one. Okay, it's in the Xinjiang. So in Xinjiang, Hotan, because in Xinjiang, Hotan, let's take a look. So this is a Hotan in Xinjiang. Yes, this is the Xinjiang Hotan. See, this is where I mean the Dharma Flower Sutra, it has been discovered. Okay, see here. Here is the one. And as an information for you, the Mahayana actually is flourishing before the conquer of Muslim. The whole area, they are Buddhism. They are the Buddhism regions. Predominantly were I mean the how to say Mahayana and also the Sarvastivada. This is the region, so that's why they can find out the Dharma Flower Sutra in this area. Okay, see how it looks good, right? Very interesting this. So if next time you go for pilgrimage, so remember go to see this type of things. Okay, so this is also the very old version of the Dharma, but it's more in the Chinese, more on the Chinese. Okay, next, see here. Then two more, two more, how to say it? Two more historical chronicle have been introduced. What we call as a Milinda Panda. Milinda Panda, let's take a look. Milinda Panda, you will find it's very interesting. It's a Milinda Panda. This is quite early, before Christ, 100 and 200 before Christ, you see. Milinda Banda. Okay, you see Milinda Banda. We don't see any diagram, but actually, Milinda Banda. I think I typed the wrong words. Let's see. Milinda Banha. Linda Banha. This is the Milinda Banha. So this is the dialogue between two people. See, okay. Sally, can you tell us the dialogue is between one is it looks like a Buddha monk, the other one who is it the way you see it?
Greek.
Yes, it's the Western people, right? It's the Western people. Actually, this is the king from the Greek, you know. King from the Greek, you see? King of the Greek ancestry. According to history, after Buddha Parinibbana, paying respect to the statue is not popular. But once the Greeks have been conquered to that particular area, Greeks they are the one who brought in the culture of the statue. So in the very beginning, what we try to salute, we just salute the Buddha food. So you see, this is the things that we try to salute, you know. Okay, Buddha food. Yeah, this is we salute Buddha food. Okay, or maybe we salute is the pagoda. See, pagoda. See, so basically this is the thing we salute. But this is a Chinese pagoda. If you let's say your type is an Indian pagoda. It's in this way. Indian pagoda. So this is an Indian pagoda. Some is actually is Myanmar style. But later on, once the Greeks influence start spreading there, we start to see the Gandhari, Gandhari Buddha statue. Let's take a look. This is the Buddha statue. Sally, okay, you see the face of the Buddha. Can you tell us that this is the Westerner face or Easterner face? Sally?
Westerner face.
Why you say it is an external face? Why Westerner?
Because it looks like Wailo.
No, they look more handsome.
More like Wailo.
Actually, in my perception, I still think the Westerner more handsome. For men, the outlook, the features, Easterner no lah. The example is Xi Jinping. I don't feel Xi Jinping is handsome, even though I don't look handsome. I don't know how to describe. The feature you can find that. Even though the Indian, not the Indian girl, especially the Bollywood star, they also look very beautiful. The way more Westerner orientation. Am I right? So you see, this is a Gandhari. You can see a lot of Westerner features of the Buddha. But we also, we believe that Buddha also should be very handsome. The reason why, because Buddha is from the Aryan, you know. Aryan tradition, basically, they're close to the Europe blood, you see. So Buddha should be very handsome. Okay. Okay, so this we call it as the statue, we know a little bit from here. Okay, Milinda Bada. Then last one I try to introduce is the Visuddhimagga by the Buddha Gosa. Let me finish. So what is the Visuddhimagga? Class, basically this is the Visuddhimagga. Let me show you. This is the Visuddhimagga. Visuddhimagga. Okay, it is translated in English as a way to the Buddhahood. Path of purification, okay, path of purification, okay, it's totally about 400 pages, okay. We just finished the Chinese versions, okay. You think how many years to finish the 400 pages of the Visuddhimagga? Yes, Popo, you think how long to finish?
I'm not too sure, Sifu.
You're not very sure. If you guess, okay, how about Sally? You, no, Mr. Leong, if you guess, you think how long to finish 400 pages? If 1 week, 2 week once, and then just maybe, 2 week once, and maybe 1.5 hour. You think how long it takes?
Like us lah, 2 to 3 years lah.
No, 8 years.
Oh,
Ah,
we finish it in 2 to 3 years, well.
no.
We just-
I mean this is a Visuddhimagga. I finished it in 8 years because I got the record one. 2014 until now. 8 years, meaning to say.
Okay.
Okay. So never mind. I think 8 years is not long if you have the heart. If you don't have the heart, maybe 8 minutes, the video clip you don't want to finish already. Am I right? Sometimes in Facebook, 8 minutes is too long already because you don't have the heart. You are not interested. For those who interest, they will accompany me until finish the whole book. 8 years or no. 8 years. Actually, if let's say less than 3 people, I plan to close the class. But no matter how, there must be at least 3 people. Then later on, people getting more and more, later on, even though they come into interval, they will still enjoy, I don't know why. So finally, once we graduate about 10, something like that, not bad, 10 to 12, something like that. This is, I think they study even more hardworking than SPM, I think. The way I see them, even more hardworking than...
8 years is worth it because why? After the 8 years, they become enlightened. They become arahant.
Not yet. But I mean, they will fulfill the urge of learning The urge of learning have been fulfilled. Oh, they know the whole book what it mentioned. Better you just go everywhere, many temple. Listen many 100 Dharma talk, 8 year Dharma talk, but it's not fruitful, But here we just focus one, then very clear. We choose a good subject also. Visuddhimagga is a good subject also. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Leong, please. Yes, okay.
Sifu, how does this Buddhist monk and this Malinda communicate?
Communicate lah. You mean what language? Actually, yes, it's good. I think they shouldn't be translator. I think the monk maybe knows the Greeks, maybe, or maybe they got some translator to translate for them. At that time, I think God lah. Greeks what? Also, I think Greeks is not English, right? They don't speak English or Latin. Mr. Leong?
Yeah, different from English.
Not Latin also.
No, I don't think so.
No, it's a different language. But if let's say, the Melinda King start to conquer, of course, they will have the envoy, convoy, and the translator to know this. Or they how could they communicate? They must be got somebody. So no much problem. Okay. Basically, now the text is still available. If you're quite interested to know, what do they communicate? Yes, they ask the question, like the king they asked before. He say, you always say anicca, dukkha, anatta. If everything is impermanence, who is reincarnation? You see, this is the question posed by the king, meaning to say the king of the great also very smart. Right now, so this is a good question. So the monk have to be answer wisely to the king. So actually many condense. So maybe if you're interested, you can go through by yourself. Okay, I think we won't go through here because we got too many things already. This one also thick. Abhidhamma also very thick. Okay. Okay, let's go to the next paragraph. Okay. Yes, I think Joel, your turn to read. Mahayana text, please.
Okay. Mahayana texts were composed from around the 1st century before Christ, originating as written, not oral works. In time, they were recorded in the form of the Indian priestly language, Sanskrit. While many are attributed to the Buddha, their form and content clearly show that they were later restatements and extensions of the Buddha's message. The main sources for our understanding of Mahayana teachings are very extensive Chinese and Tibetan Buddhist canons. While most of the Pali canon has been translated into English, only selected texts from these have been translated into Western languages, though much progress is being made. For some details on the 3 main contact extant canons, see Appendix 1. While Buddhism is now only a minority religion within the borders of the modern India, it spreads beyond India means that it is currently found in the three main cultural areas. These are those of Southern Buddhism, where the Theravada school is found, along with some elements incorporated from the Mahayana Eastern Buddhism, where the Chinese transmission of Mahayana Buddhism is found, and the area of Tibetan culture, Northern Buddhism, which is their hair of late Indian Buddhism, where the Maitranaya Vajrayana version of the Mahayana is the dominant form. One can see this as like the three main branches of the tree of Buddhism. Though as all parts of a tree are genetically identical, this underplays the differences they have developed within Buddhism over time. Yet one can trace a series of transformation linking early and later forms in the causal continuum, just as Buddhism says that a person in one life and the next rebirth is neither unchangingly the same nor completely different. This can be said of the various forms of Buddhism that have evolved. A better image than branches of a tree is branches of a large family. There are family resemblances across all three branches, though certain features and forms are more typical of and sometimes unique to one of the three branches. The 5th edition, 2005 of the Robinson and Johnson book, The Buddhist Religion, was titled Buddhist Religions, to emphasize how the three main cultural forms of Buddhism are in the sense different worlds. Yet this downplays the continuities and the many connections in the vast network of Buddhism.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. Okay, class, let's take a look. Here we mentioned that now we talk about the Mahayana. So Mahayana it appears, let me check for you first. Class, let's take a look. Okay, Mahayana is this color. It's about 500 CE, you see. Okay, so let's see. It is in Indian. It began about 100. This you mentioned is I mean the Christ. This is before Christ. This is after Christ. It's a BC. Never mind. Sometimes will be a little bit. They will have a different version. It doesn't matter. So we see Mahayana. This is the beginning of the Mahayana. Basically, these texts are actually according to the text. They are very how should I put it? See, basically for the Mahayana texts, they are in the 1st century. Basically, they are in the Sanskrit. The way we see is they are the restatement and extension of the Buddha's message. So from the diagram, we'll notice that. See, so this is a Mahayana. See, so we need to say that the Mahayana texts are basically is an extension from the early Buddhist school, which is from the Nikaya and the Agama, and also maybe partial from the Abhidhamma. Okay. Then here we see understanding of the Mahayana teaching of very extensive Chinese and the Tibetan Buddhist canon. Basically, class, if in the C-beta, you will notice that mostly the Chinese text is in the C-beta here. C-beta. You notice a lot is in the Mahayana text. You can find in the Chinese Tripitaka and also the Tibetan Tripitaka. Whereas in Pali canon, you can find is in the English. The version you find is in the English. I'm quite curious, Sally, you are English act people. How come you just go to the Chinese version of the Buddhism? You just don't go to the English version, which is more understandable.
One of my friends brought me there.
Your friend is there?
Sorry?
You mean your friend is there?
Yeah, they brought me to the Chinese version.
So finally you end up in the Chinese?
Because sometimes I don't know what they were talking about.
But
I mean, a little bit, can understand a little bit.
But you begin from there, you hope you will die and from there also.
Actually, it's beginning from there, and then someone told me there's a seafood that talk in English, better sign up.
Okay. Yeah, Sally, how come you will go to the English version of the Buddhism, you see, but you come to the Chinese one? Sally,
Because I don't know anyone in the Theravada side.
Yeah. I'm talking to Sally now. Sally, yeah, Sally.
Oh,
Not
because
David, Sally.
because my family all knows Mandarin, so they started in Mandarin, so I just follow.
Even though you don't understand.
I don't understand.
You see, meaning to say that people don't choose according to the language. They choose according to what? According to the friend, you know. Oh, my friend, my relative do so I also follow this, even though I don't understand. See, I think it's not funny. I think maybe it's a human nature. Yeah, Mr. Leong. Yes.
They follow the friend because why? The friend can guide them to search.
But the way I see Sally, can your friend guide you to search or not, Sally? Sally?
Search what, Asifu?
Yeah, Mr. Leong, what to search?
Search what?
Additional knowledge onto the elaborate meaning of the word or whatever.
Sometimes you just listen to what he says, what the Sifu talk. He will give the Dharma talk. So you just listen. And then if you don't understand, you talk to him again when he's more free. Then ask him for the meaning. You explain in Cantonese.
If you don't understand, you just accumulate it and waiting to meet me lah.
Yes, true.
Accumulate all
I
the
will just
questions.
text you.
I
will just text you and ask you.
Okay. So you see.
Sifu is the guiding light, ma.
Yeah. Okay, so class, here basically, once we talk about the Theravada, the name is Southern Buddhism. Mahayana Buddhism is the Eastern Buddhism, And the Tibetan culture is more mantra vajrayana. So basically, if let's say I should put this the Buddhism map, maybe it will appear. So let's see. Buddhism map, maybe. Yeah, this is the Buddhism map. See not? Buddhism map. How the Buddhism spreading. Let me have a look. Okay, class basically it happened in this way. You see. Okay, class, you see, here, everything begin from here. Here is the Bodhigaya. Buddha is originated from here. Once Buddha passed away, okay, about 200 before Christ, so the monk who migrate come down to Sri Lanka, and in Sri Lanka, the Buddhism start to spread to the Thailand, to the Myanmar. All right, so they call it as a Theravada Buddhism. They are flourishing in this part of area. And then from the 3rd century to the 8th century, a lot of Chinese monks, they come to the Indian. So they bring back the Buddhism to the Chinese. So this we call it as a Mahayana Buddhism. From Chinese, it goes to the Korean, and from Korean, it goes to Japan again, all right? So finally, about 9th century, the Tibetan the Tibetan come to Indian and brought back the Tipitaka to the Tibet. Finally, become a Tibetan Buddhism. You see, so this is how the Buddhism spread and become this 3 tradition. Okay, next let's take a look. So next paragraph, Buddhism concentration. Yeah, Mr. Leong, can you please read the passage?
Buddhism's concentration on the essentials of spiritual development has meant that it has been able to coexist both with other major religions and with popular folk traditions which catered for people's desire for a variety of rituals. There has hardly ever been a wholly Buddhist society, if this means a kind of religious one-party state. Buddhism has been very good at adapting to different cultures while guiding its own somewhat fluid borders by a critical tolerance of other traditions. Its style has been to offer invitations to several levels of spiritual practice for those who have been ready to commit themselves. In southern Buddhist lands, worship of pre-Buddhist nature gods has continued, while especially in Sri Lanka, Buddhists also worship gods whose cultures are Indian in origin. Most Buddhists would not see this as a betrayal of Buddhism, but just an attempt to interact with minor powers of the cosmos for some worldly advantage, like a person asking a member of parliament to try to help him. In Northern Buddhism, a similar relationship exists with the indigenous born religion of Tibet. In China, Taiwan, Korea, and Vietnam, Buddhists have coexisted with Confucianism, more of a system of social philosophy than a religion. The Taoist religion and much folk religion. People would often partake of elements of all these traditions. In Japan, Buddhism has existed alongside the indigenous, nature-oriented religion of Shinto and the Confucianism that it brought with it from China. Traditionally, people would be married with Shinto rites and buried with Buddhist ones. In China, which now includes Tibet, North Korea, Vietnam, and Laos, Buddhism exists under communist governments. Chinese communists persecuted Buddhism and vandalized its temples during the Cultural Revolution. But the government has since been easing up on it so as to allow a gentle resurgence in China proper and a continuation of the very strong Buddhist culture of Tibet. The religion remains opposed in North Korea, but is reasonably strong in Laos and Vietnam. In Mongolia, regions of the Russian Federation and Cambodia, Buddhism is strengthening after previous communist periods.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Leong, Tama, please wants to finish, Mr. Leong. Okay. Okay, class, basically, we notice one thing. If let's say, I don't know, because you're not Chinese, I'm the Chinese. The Buddhism I know actually is already strongly integrated with the Confucianism. And also, you see, basically, as a Chinese, we notice that our culture background is a mixture. Number one, we believe, past life, present life, and the future, right? Am I right? Or even though you're English, we believe that, okay? Second, we mentioned about the filial piety. Am I right? Different with the Westerner. They are not as filial piety as us, but we are very emphasized. Actually, this is from the Confucianism, okay? And then we also, we pray to the Guan Yin, we pray to the Guan Gong, all this, right? Actually, it's a partial from the Taoism also, you see. So meaning to say that basically, if people ask what's your religions, you go to see the column, okay, you know that you are not Muslim, you're not the Christian, then you don't know where to mark already. The only thing you mark is a Buddhist. Am I right? It's happened to you, So meaning to say, even though you are English as long as your family background is still is a Chinese, you notice that, Theravada Buddhist devotee, they try to compare the Chinese Buddhism and the Theravada, they'll see a lot different. The reason is Chinese, once the Buddhism reached the China, they know very well if you want to survive, you have to adapt them. Have you ever heard about that? During the Qianlong dynasty, Qianlong chased out all the Christian pasture from the dynasty. Have you heard about that? Mr. Leong, have you heard about that? You don't heard about that. Why? Because of a Christian now, they disagree to put the ancestor plug, because for that, the rule number one for them is never pray to the plug, something like that. They say, jangan sembahyang kepada patung, is the number one, you see. So they ban them, you see. So for most of the Chinese, this is a very betrayal for our ancestor and the filial piety. So finally, Qianlong chased out all the pasture from his dynasty. But why Buddhists? It doesn't happen to the Buddhists because the reason is we adapt very well to the culture, see. So of course, once the Buddhism have been Chinalized, it will be different from the origin already. Needless to say, but we notice that Chinese Buddhism, even though it is imported element, but it already integrated and well mingled in the Chinese culture. You cannot take it out already. Even though Taoism, they are the original religions in the China, and also very supported by the government, by the king, you see. But the Buddhist monk, they already very smart because they're localized. So a lot of Chinese people, they embrace the Buddhism and they integrate very well. So finally, it's become part of the culture in the Chinese people. So you see or not? So this is the wisdom. But basically, we don't see it as a betrayal. But anyway, in Theravada, especially in Thai, in forest monastery, they will always talk about the originality. So for them, they don't want to mix from, they don't want to mix anything, any external elements, because they want to maintain their the purity. So this we call origin Buddhism. Basically, you can find the original Buddhism, or we call it as a fundamental teaching, even though in Muslim, in Islam, in Christian, wherever you will notice that. So it's a group of people, they don't want to adapt to other. Of course, there will be some disadvantage, advantage and disadvantage. The advantage is they maintain the purity. You see, like our Dongjong and Jiaozhong, we are also trying to keep the purity. So we don't want what the Jawi come in, they don't want. They are very orthodox. Okay, you can say that from the government perspective, you notice that, wow, how come you are so hard to negotiate? But our still point is we want to maintain the purity of Chinese, so that from one generation to another generation, they can get the pure Chinese education. So this we call it as a fundamentalism also. It's not, we can't say it's good or bad. It depends on whether it's in the right context or not. In Sri Lanka, basically there's one school, it's very open to the Mahayana. In Sri Lanka, there's one we call it as Ta Si Pai. Okay, let's see. This is the true tradition in Sri Lanka Buddhism. Let's see. Okay, Sri Lanka Buddhism. There will be two schools, but one school is very orthodox. But there's, okay, let's see first. Sri Lanka, the school. School in Sri Lanka. Theravada School of Buddhism. Okay, I get it already. This is from here. Yes, okay. Basically in Sri Lanka, you will notice there will be three schools. One is a Mahavihara, one is a Abhayagiri Vihara. Basically, both are established in Sri Lanka is about before Christ 26. They already established already. But now, the Abhayagiri Vihara, you don't see it anymore. Why? Because it integrates very well with the Mahayana, and finally he lost his identity. Whereas for this Mahavihara, he is very orthodox. He don't want to mix anything, but he still maintains his power until now. So nowadays we see the Buddhism in Thailand, in Myanmar, they are all actually is originated from the Mahavihara. See or not? So sometimes we can hardly say that it's open mind is good or conservative is good. Quite hard to say. So here we put some example. Basically, once you go to see the Tibetan Buddhism, they have been mixture with the Bon culture. So class, let's take a look. Now you see here a Chinese we already mentioned, you see, indigenous born in the Tibetan Buddhism. How do we see it is the indigenous or born? So this is it. Tibetan Buddhism. Class, you see some they have a dance. I see, let's see Tibetan Buddhism. Here we see is the clothes they are wearing is a Tibetan culture. You see, it's very colorful. All this is a Tibetan culture. But the one more culture is very obvious. Very obvious is from the Bon. You see, Dharma protector. Dharma protector. Tibetan. You see? Yeah. Mr. Leong, do you see it in the Theravada or Mahayana Buddhism?
Mahayana.
No. Mahayana, we don't got all this.
Tibetan.
Mistake already. This is, you can see Tibetan only. That is the integration from the Bon culture, So sometimes they will have a dancing in Tibetan Buddhism. We call it as a dance. Dance in Tibetan Buddhism. I see. They will wear the mask. They call it as the Lama dance. So this is integration with the Bon culture already. But this is the feature of Buddhism. We will make friends with all the minority or the majority. So we become friends. Even though Sri Lanka, they also worship the god, which is the calf from India, you see. So this is something we can see here. Okay, then here we talk about the history. It's the very sad, it's the Chinese communists that vandalized the temple. It's the Cultural Revolution. So this is the, maybe I can see whether we are able to see or not. Chinese Revolution. Okay, vandalize Buddhism. So this is it's really a catastrophic, you see. Plus, I see, and they try to burn all the Buddhist statue, you see or not? Okay, so they try to destroy it, you see not? The people, this is the Buddha statue, you see. They try to label it as a demon, then they try to pull it down, you see. They beheaded all the Buddhist statue, you see. So they forced all the monks to become a layman, you see or not? So you see, this is a Chinese Revolution culture. You can say it's a fourth major catastrophic for the Buddhism in the Chinese. So that's why the Chinese Buddhism, the Buddhists in the China, they're very hurt. So they always think about how should they prevent all this happen. So a few things. Number one, they try to build a very big, gigantic Buddha statue, so that very hard to destroy. Second, they try to carve out all the Buddhist scripture in the cave, on the stone. So you see, because if the king want to destroy they want to burn the scripture, they cannot burn already. If they want to smash the Buddha statue, if it is so big, they cannot smash. So you can say that the Chinese Buddhists actually, they try very hard to protect their own religions, you see. But the Theravada, they don't know all this. They just thought, all the extra is the creation from the Chinese people. They don't know how hard the Chinese have to protect Buddhism in the China. Yes, Mr. Leong, yeah.
Sifu, regarding being a Sotapanna, the factors of enlightenment is actually to abstain from rights and riches. But then as I see it, like Tibetan Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism also is encouraging right and riches.
No. Actually, the right and riches here means what? It means is, for example, okay, they try to, the rights and riches, meaning to say is the excessive practice, especially for this excessive practice. So this is the right which you mentioned in the Buddhism, you see. They try to put up the hand and they believe leading them to the Nibbana. Okay, they will try, you see or not, they try to make themselves starvation. Okay, they don't eat, you see, this one now, 77 years, never eat, also pull down the tongue, okay, and then some they are naked themselves, all right, okay, so you see some they are totally naked themselves. This is the rites and ritual mentioned by Shakyamuni, because Shakyamuni times, this is the error in the Shakyamuni, a lot of excessive practice. So he said, if you do what they do, you cannot become enlightened. You should be moderate. You should eat the time you eat. Then the practice moderately. But there is go to very extreme. So actually, Buddha mentioned this rituals is in this type of background. Not the Chinese or them the background. But once he said once you attain to the Sotapanna, you will just get away yourself from all this type of the excessive practice which is unnecessary. So Mr. Leong, you have to come back to this context to think about that. Okay. Okay, so class, this is ending for our class today. So in